YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, today we're going to talk about glide baits, and we're not going to talk about glide baits like you've probably ever heard before. This is a video that I've honestly been kicking around for quite some time. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, and only because this is something I do in almost all my tournaments, especially starting in the spawn and going throughout the rest of the year. Guys, this is something that you can use day in and day out, and you will be able to help you catch more fish. But guys, real fast, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure y'all do that. It's in the bottom right-hand corner. Just hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a video. So glide baits. It has been the craze this year, but this is something I've been fishing for quite a few years now, and I have figured out a method that helps me catch more fish. Now, if you want to go throw a glide bait, you can go pick up some of these really big glide baits, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 inches, 15 inches, and you're going to get a ton of fish that follow your bait. You know, you're going to be reeling it in, and they're just going to shark it, and every once in a while, you'll have one bite it. And, you know, it seems like you'll hit a day where a lot of them will bite it. You know, 5, 6, 8, 10 fish will actually eat your glide bait, and then all those other days, you're going to have a lot follow it, a lot just kind of nip at it and hit it. Now, with the introduction of forward-facing sonar and everything that's done, it's kind of opened our eyes to just how effective a glide bait can be and how you can convince a fish into eating it. But this is not what that video is about. This video is about fishing. Truly going down the bank, fishing particular structure, and which glide baits are going to be most effective for you. Now, over the years, I've been fishing glide baits starting in the spawn and working through the post-spawn. And I have found a handful of glide baits that seem to work better for me. And it's all about size. You know, you will 100% hear guys talking about when it comes to glide baits, man, I love this Chad Shad. I love this, you know, whatever this big glide, this 175 depths. You know, I love these 7-inch plus glide baits. But, guys, that is not an effective size glide bait for tournament fishing if you are not using forward-facing sonar. Now, if you're using forward-facing sonar and you see what you think is a really giant bass and you throw an 8-inch glide bait in front of it, it might eat it, okay? And I'm not saying it won't eat it, but if you're fishing down the bank and you're blind fishing, you're not using your forward-facing sonar, you're just fishing, a 7-inch glide bait is not the one you need to throw. Yes, you heard that right. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going to get roasted in the comments. There's no doubt there's going to be guys that say, oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Guys, I have traveled all across this country. I've glide baited in places you never even thought to throw a glide bait, and have caught them in tournaments on glide baits. And day in and day out, I go to one size glide bait, and that is a 5-inch glide. This one happens to be a Biggs Custom Lures. This is just a bluegill glide. It's a 5-inch glide bait. You know, when it comes to glide baiting for tournaments, I've learned over the years that I still get the drawing power out of a 5-inch glide, but it's not as intimidating to 2, 3, and 4 pound bass. That smaller glide bait seems to get me more bites. And when I'm talking tournament situations and I need bites, a glide bait will deliver that, especially in the smaller size. That 5-inch and below seems to be the most effective glide baiting situation for me that has worked day in and day out all across the country. Now, I carry a couple of different colors when it comes to glide baits, and I carry a couple of different models of swim baits. Guys, none of these are Strike King. None of these guys sponsor me, actually. These are all baits I bought full price, and I collect them. I mean, I just like baits, and I like fishing. But I have always loved catching them on glide baits. So we're going to talk about a couple of the specific glide baits that I use, talk about the gear that you need, and when and where to fish them. So, the Biggs Custom one, this is a B1 is what it's called. I carry two colors in it. I carry a shad color, and I carry a bluegill. And a lot of guys are going to look at it and say, why in the heck would you carry a bluegill one? But in the spawn, and I mean when these fish are on beds, the bluegill glide seems to get me more bites than a shad color glide. Now, do I need 10 different color shad colors? No. You need like one shad color and one bluegill color. And it's pretty simple. You pick one up, you throw it for a little while. If you have a bunch of chasers, put on the other one and see what happens. They might eat that one. They might eat the other one. I like to carry both of them just for the situation to where I might catch them better on one than the other. So I throw that Biggs, that B1, it works really well. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of lead on the hook just to sink it down just a little bit, but I want it fairly close to the surface because a lot of times I'm fishing this thing down the bank, 20-pound fluorocarbon, and it is super, super effective. Another one that I use is the Jackal Gantrail Junior. Now, the Gantrail, the original Gantrail, I think is like 7 inches long. This one's just under 5 inches. And this is one that is really, really hard to get. This is one I actually had to find on eBay. This is the Ghost Gill color. I just like the Ghost Gill color. I have caught some really, really big fish on that, especially when they get on bluegill beds, or in situations where I just need to catch a few extra fish. The thing is, guys, I could go out there, and this is a perfect example. When it comes to tournament fishing, and I'm trying to get bites, okay, and I could put on a Ned rig. Let's just say I'm at a lake, like Beaver Lake, for instance, and I put on a Ned rig. Well, I can go get 50 bites on a Ned rig. But out of those 50 bites, there might only be 8 or 10 that are keepers, and of those 8 or 10, maybe 1 or 2 are good ones, all right? Well, if I go out there with a glide bait, even just a 5-inch glide, a smaller glide like that, if I get 10 bites, I'm going to say 9 of them are probably going to be keepers. And of those 9, I'm going to have at least 2 or 3 opportunities at big ones. So I'm going to get more bites on the Ned rig, but in the reality, when it comes to quality, there's a good chance I'm going to have a better than average odd of catching a bigger than normal fish. And that is the big key when it comes to glide bait fishing, is finding a bait that you're confident in. You know, there's a lot of different ones out there. Another one that I use, I don't actually have it in my hand, but is a depth slide swimmer 145. You know, the 175 is probably one of the more popular sizes when it comes to glide baits. I like the 145. Once again, it's a 5-inch glide bait. I can go down the bank fishing that particular glide bait. The cool thing is I use all of these on the same rod, the same size line, the same reel, and everything. I use 20-pound fluorocarbon. I use a Lew's Super Duty 300, which is a swim bait style reel. It's an oversized reel. I fill that thing up with 20-pound line. I use a 7:5 to 1 gear ratio. Now, you're going to hear some swim baiters talk about they'll use 6:8 to 1s and even 5 to 1 gear ratio. In this situation, I like that 7 to 1 because I can slow my hand down, but when a fish slacklines me, hits it coming at me, I can crank on them fast and get them to the boat. A glide bait fish is not one of those fish you really want to lip unless it's like an 8 or 10 pounder. You want to boat flip most of these because if you get down there and you're trying to grab them, there's so much leverage with that glide bait that a lot of times you'll lose them. The cool thing about the Biggs baits, they come with really good hooks. You don't have to change those out, and you don't have to change out the gantrails either. I tend to change out the slide swimmers. I like to go to a little bit bigger round bend on those, but overall you don't have to really change those up. The rod I use is just an 8-foot. It's actually a cranking rod. It's a 10XD rod, and I really, really like it. I mean, I don't want something that's overpowering. I want something that's going to load. Obviously fluorocarbon doesn't have that stretch, and it seems to me a lot of my bites come fairly close to the boat. So I don't want a rod that's going to be so stiff that it pulls the hooks out of the fish's mouth. And that is one of the most important aspects of glide bait fishing, for me at least. Now, when it comes to where I'm going to actually throw this glide bait, like I said, the spawn, finding those 45-degree banks, finding isolated cover. So if you have a laydown or a stump, or, you see the edge of a dock, something like that, that is a perfect situation. Or even a walkway of the dock, because so many fish like to spawn on those walkways. Just making an underhand cast, rolling up in there, and really fishing it slow. It has drawing power, so especially on the clearer bodies of water, it's going to draw those fish off a particular cover, and a lot of times they'll eat it. I just really believe that 5-inch glide has better appeal, better bite appeal than a 7 or 8 or 10-inch swim bait. Now, don't get me wrong, I know you can catch them on those, but when it comes to a tournament, and I need the fish to commit, that I get way more commits on a 5-inch than I do a 7 or 8. So guys, that's a little bit of scoop on a tournament bait that I never talk about, that I think is super overlooked, and a lot of guys make mistakes on it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I don't do a lot of tip videos anymore, just for the fact that not many guys seem to really like them as much anymore, so I just try to not do as many. But I hope y'all enjoyed this one. It is not a sponsored push video. This is just what I use in my tournaments from time to time, and it does get me a big bite. I hope it helps you get a big bite in one of your next tournaments. And till next time, I'll see you on the next video.